How's everyone doing? Good. Any questions?
How are you feeling?
I feel pretty good. Yeah. I feel pretty good. So this class is called, Are You an Emotional Vampire? First of all, what is an emotional vampire? It's someone that drains you of energy. It's someone that you don't look forward to when you see their texts. And we all have them in our lives. They could be our friends, our family, most likely our family. It could be our girlfriends, boyfriends. It could be, our classmates, many people. So I'm going to ask you a question. Who here has an emotional vampire in their life? Raise your hand.
Can you define it?
I just did. Who here has you don't have an emotional vampire in your life? No one drains you of energy. You do. You just don't want to raise your hand.
Is a financial vampire the same?
Huh?
A financial vampire the same thing?
Yeah, that's draining of energy, draining of money. Yeah, you have one, right? Obviously. So who here is? You have a lot of them, right? We all have a lot of them.
Some of them even under the title of a Jewish organization.
Sure. So I have a question. Who here thinks they're an emotional vampire?
Definitely.
Maybe to someone.
No hands going up. We have a problem going on. The truth is simple. We judge other people by their actions, but we judge ourselves by our intentions. This means that when other people do something wrong or upsetting, we tend to focus on their actions, but when we do something wrong, we often excuse ourselves based on why we did it. For example, someone's late, we might say, oh, they're disrespectful, they're careless. However, if we're late, we'll say, oh, I hit traffic. Do you get my point? So this is pointing at a common double standard in how we judge behavior. Harsh on others, more forgiving toward ourselves. You ghost someone for 3 weeks, I was just overwhelmed. Someone does it to you, they're toxic and emotionally unavailable. So the question is, how is it possible that most of us have emotional vampires in our lives, except no one here is raising their hand to say, I'm an emotional vampire? Something doesn't make sense, right? Go ahead.
Well, I'm always sort of keeping myself in check when I need someone, but I'll make sure not to overuse, not to
Sure.
So these people aren't doing that. They're just using and abusing without even thinking. Without even taking other people into consideration.
So I have a topic I talk about. It's called read the back of your shirt. Because when you're going through life, right, you have a shirt, and sometimes it has a writing on the front, right? And you can see what's on the front, but you don't know what's on the back of your shirt. And the problem is, since you can't read it, the only way for you to find out is if someone tells you. So no one's admitting they're an emotional vampire, but I'm sure there's some of us in the room who are emotional vampires, even myself. So we're going to go through, and we're going to go through some questions on what an emotional vampire is. Now, I put emotional vampires into many different categories. I'll even read them to you. I don't remember them all. But it's something as simple as the perpetual victim, the narcissist, the socially awkward, the drama queen, the emotionally constipated. Parents, siblings, and in-laws, these are its own separate category. Because if they weren't your siblings or in-laws, you might be friends with them or you might not have a relationship with them. But because they're related to you, they drain you of energy. The overly dependent, the non-stop talkers, the second guessers, the projectors. Then I have two for children. One's called the terrible twos, and one is called for teenagers because they drain you of energy when you have them as a parent. So we're going to go through some questions. We're going to ask ourselves if maybe we are an emotional vampire. I've never done this class before, so we're going to see how it works out. Because really taking ownership of your faults is the only way to start the process of healing. You actually have to say it to yourself every day, really, because I always say, like, when you're dating someone, if you're not sure if you're going to marry them, you should have someone that guides you, like a coach or Rabbi or Rebbitzin. But you don't want what I call a yes man. What's a yes man? Someone's a yes man like your girlfriend. Like you said, you go buy a dress, and you go to your girlfriend, oh, how do I look in this dress? What's she going to say? You shouldn't have bought that dress. No, she's going to say you look great. Because she's a yes man. Or you invite someone over to your house and you just finish your kitchen. Oh, I got him in the kitchen. You want to see it? You want to see it? You bring him over. What do you think? What do you think? What are you looking for at this point in time? Are you looking for the honest truth or are you looking for validation?
Validation.
You're looking for validation. You don't want to say, oh, I stink. No, of course. If you really wanted their opinion, you would have asked them before you designed your kitchen. Do you get my point? And that would be a nightmare if you start doing that. So even in my books, when I people give me their opinions in my books, if you've been to my class and you like my classes, and you read my book, unless my book's complete trash, which it's not, right? You're going to say, oh, I like the book. So no offense, your opinion doesn't mean a lot to me. It does. I mean, I enjoy your opinion, but again, it's a biased opinion. Because you like my class, therefore you're going to like my book. That making sense? So we sometimes need a yes man. This is what a good coach does. They can see your situation, especially if you're dating or in a relationship, from the outside. Even if it's not just dating, even life skills, or if you want to get a job, what you want to do in life. And a coach can see things that you can't see because they're not emotionally involved. They're not in the middle of it. Does that make sense? So we're going to ask some questions to ourselves, determine if you are an emotional vampire. And maybe you might leave this class like, oh, I hate this class, right? So question number 1, do you have a hard time keeping friends for a long time? Anyone want to comment? Bueller? Anyone? Thank you. I'm glad you get that. Do you have a hard time keeping friends for a long time? That's one way. Listen, if you have a hard time keeping friends, you might have to look at you can start blaming your friends for all their issues, right? But really, you have to look at yourself in the mirror sometimes. Maybe I'm the one that's causing the friendships not to last. This might not be an easy class. Number 2, do you have trouble getting second or third dates? Again, when I was in my early 20s, I couldn't get second dates, and I said to my best friend, how come I can't get a second date? He said, stop talking and start listening. Because listening is how relationships are formed. And I remember another time I was on a date with a woman, a cute girl, and she would not stop talking. I mean, I thought it was on candid camera. I'm like, you kidding me? Who can talk this much? She's probably really nervous. Thank God she got married, poor guy. I mean, I hope he has a good set of noise-canceling headphones. My point is, she was probably just very nervous and stuff, but I couldn't handle it. It was too much. Maybe she found a guy, maybe she was just very, I don't know, right? But if you're having a hard time getting second or third dates, you might have to look at yourself in the mirror. Now, it doesn't matter if it happens to all of us. Even the best of us, it happens to, right? But like if you're having a hard time with relationships, maybe you're the vampire. It doesn't mean you can't improve yourselves. As we talked about yesterday, yes, you can improve yourselves. You're not animals, you're humans. You can improve your character traits. You can become better people, better listeners, more patient. Do you find that people will sometimes, I want to tell a story. Actually, I might want to read it. I was in Florida last year giving a class, and there was a woman in the back of the class. I was doing my dating relationship class, my marriage class. And she looked like she had this scowl on her face. And I thought to myself, does she hate does she can't stand what I'm saying? Like, what I'm saying is like wrong? Does she not like it? So, I'm actually going to read to you how I wrote it. It's very funny. I had just wrapped up teaching a dating class, and the vibe afterwards was pretty calm. People hanging around, nibbling on desserts, waiting their turn to chat with me to get free dating advice. A few women decided to save time and approached me as a group. One of them, very direct, asked, why don't men ever ask me out for a second date? Am I doing something wrong? Now, usually this is where I gently dodge it and say, well, who knows? Men are mysterious creatures. But this time, I actually did know. I was dreading saying it out loud. During my talk, I noticed this woman. She had a look on her face like I just insulted her cat and grandmother in the same sentence. Total scowl. Some call it RBF. If you don't know, ask me afterwards. I made a mental note. She's definitely having a tough time in the dating world. So when she asked, I took a breath and decided to tell her the truth, kindly but directly. I said, well, you're actually very cute when you smile. But your resting face is telling a completely different story. She looked at me like I told her that she had an upside-down unibrow. I tried to soften it with a humor saying, you ever seen that Seinfeld episode when Jerry's date looked gorgeous in one light and like a goblin in the other? She goes, yeah, kind of like that. You're the gorgeous part. Just make sure to leave the lights on. She didn't love that. Okay, I really didn't tell her to leave the lights on, but I wanted to. Here's the thing. Don't ask the question if you don't want the truth. I didn't want to say it. Telling someone they're unknowingly scaring off dates with their face is not exactly a great way to make friends, but I generally felt it was something she needed to hear, that she needs to smile. And we talked about this next week. I'm going to give the class from Swipe Right to Wedding Night, how to make yourself irresistibly marriageable. We're going to talk about smiling on dates. When you see a picture of a woman or a guy with a face and he's smiling versus one who's not smiling, it is a world of difference. The face that you have, I think this might be in the our sages say that you actually don't own your face. Why is that? It's your face. I know it's your face. Your beautiful face. It's beautiful, but you don't see it like I see it. You wake up in the morning. If you're a guy, you see your face for 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes in the evening. A girl, okay, a little bit longer, putting makeup on, right? Okay, maybe an hour, whatever it is. But you come to a class like this, I'm looking at you for an hour. I'm seeing your face way more than you're seeing your face. Therefore, your face is Rishus Harabim. Your face is public domain. It is. It's public domain, which means you should put a smile on it because you have an effect on everyone you come in contact with. Beautiful smile. I love that. Actually, when I started teaching, I guess about 10 years ago, I'm kind of passionate, I think, a little bit. And one or two people said to me, you sometimes come across a little bit angry when I'm speaking. So I made sure to put the word smile in big letters on all my notes. I had the word smile. Because sometimes we forget to smile, especially when we're engaged in something. So it's very important to smile on the first date. And if you have a hard time getting a second date, maybe you're not smiling. People like to see happy people. People want to be around happy people. So if you're having a problem getting a second or third date, that could be an issue. Just saying. I mean, like, I know the story's not very nice for this girl, but it really was an issue when I was giving the class. I'm like, wow. I mean, when she smiles, she's cute. When she doesn't, ugh. Poor girl. I feel bad for her. Anyway. So we asked some questions. Do you find that when people will stop, do you find that people will sometimes stop listening to you when you are talking with them? Ever happen to any of us? You give me a story, and we talk about this next week also. That you have to have what's called the social awareness. That when you're giving a story with a group of people, and they're like look like they're bored, it's because they are bored. And if you're on a date and you're telling a story about something and they look bored, it's probably because they are bored. I mean, like you can read facial clues. I'm thinking about doing a whole class on facial clues because really you can tell so much by the way whether people react. It's really hard to like lie with your face. We have a friend she was an FBI expert in telling if people are lying or not. So there's like thousands of clues your face gives off about if you're telling the truth or not. I mean, if you're on a date and you're telling a story and the guy looks bored, you got to change the subject. But you have to have the awareness. Most people don't even have the awareness. They tell the story, I remember I was giving a class to Chabad one time. Some guy comes up to me after class and give me a Devar Torah. I'm like, I love Devar Torahs, but like I just finished giving a 45-minute class. I have people waiting to talk to me. I'm like, this is not the time for Devar Torah. Or when I spoke for Shavuos here, on Shavuos, last year, if you were here, it was packed. The whole room out there was like 400 people. It's crazy. And I gave my half-hour class, and after class, if you saw that class, it was pretty funny. I put a lot of energy into it, and I had people waiting to talk to me afterwards. And this guy comes up and starts telling me about his relationship with his ex-wife. There's a time and a place. At Shavuos at 2 a.m. when you have 20 people waiting to talk, it's not the time to give me a story about his life. He didn't have the awareness. Now, obviously, there's an issue in his marriage because if he's not aware that that's not the time to talk to it, he could have said to me, "Hey, coach, I want to talk to you at a different time. Can I get your number after Shavuos and contact you?" That's what he should have said. But he didn't have that awareness. And we have to have the awareness when we're talking to people. If people are bored, it's because they are bored.
But some people are just bad listeners.
No, we are. We're not good listeners. And we have to train ourselves to become better listeners. It's a trait that women love. And it's a trait that you can practice. And when you're 22 years old and you're focused on football, you're learning something, it's hard to talk to people.
How do you know if we're a bad listener or not?
I'm making a generalization, which means there's exceptions, right? But in order to become a good listener, it takes practice. It really does. And I've gotten good at it. I was not a good listener. I mean, like, my mind's going I do a million things at once. Like, I'm doing coin deals, I'm piano, I'm like writing classes, whatever I'm doing. A million things going on. I'm always thinking. So like when someone tells me a story, I don't want to listen. I just want to think to myself all the time. This is what I do. I just think to myself, make up stuff. So I've gotten good at it. I've practiced. I sit after a class, you'll see me coaching people out in this room all the time. And I listen to you. I've gotten really good. And people have said, man, one of the rabbis said to me, he goes, you were really focused on people when you talk to them. I go, it's taken some practice. This wasn't a skill of mine. But I've gotten much better at zoning in on what people are saying. Remember, we talked about, not if you weren't here, listening versus hearing. Right? In the second paragraph of Shema, we say twice a day, Shemu v'tishmeu, you shall hear and listen. Because there's two times of hearing. There's one where it goes in one ear and out the other. And there's the other when you internalize it, understand it. And we have to understand that in order to form relationships, in order to not be a vampire, in order to have loving relationships, we have to actually listen to our spouse. And listening and hearing are two different things. Hearing means it goes in one ear, out the other. Listening means you internalize it, understand it, can replay it back. And by the way, if you're on a date and you have a hard time listening to the person you're on a date with, that is the person you should not go out with. You have to give it 2 or 3 chances. But by the third date, if you're having a hard time connecting with them, this person is not for you. And it's no wonder that the word heart, we want to be on a date and we want to connect someone, we have to use our ears. And the word heart has the word ear right in the middle of it. Because if you want to capture someone's heart, you have to use your ears. And it's no coincidence that the words silent and listen have the exact same letters. Because when if you've ever been in an argument with someone, what are you doing the whole time? They're yelling at you, and you're thinking to yourself, you're not listening to them. You know what you're doing? You're formulating a response in your head. And this is why we talked about yesterday in the 12 10 Commandments of Marriage, that when you're emotional with your spouse or your girlfriend or boyfriend, it is not good to engage, because you're going to lose. Because nothing good happens when you're emotional. And this is why I have what's called the 24-hour rule in a relationship, that you have to wait. It's a recommendation, not halacha. I'm just telling you this. You have to wait, like I told you the story yesterday about when I came home from shul and the food wasn't on the hot plate. And I was late, and my wife didn't notice it. And I didn't say anything. Why? Because it would have done no good. It would create animosity in the relationship. And I told her 5 days later when it wasn't in the moment. And if most parents could understand this with their kids, they'd do a better job of raising kids. You cannot negotiate when someone is emotional. Listening is such a great skill to have. And when you go, and I asked this yesterday, you're a girl and you have a choice of two guys to go out with. One guy is 6'2", good looking, but doesn't listen to you, doesn't understand you, doesn't get your jokes. Or you can take a guy who's 5'6", 20 pounds overweight, but gets you and understands you and laughs at your jokes. Who would you rather go out with? Who would you rather go out with? The second guy. You can say it somewhere in the middle. I understand. I get it. Us short guys get completely discriminated against, which is ridiculous, right? Because in ancient times, you had to have a big guy with muscles, right, to protect you from the marauders and saber-toothed tigers. But nowadays, you don't need that anymore. You don't need a guy who's 6'2" with big muscles that can protect you when a robber walks into the coffee shop. You don't need that anymore. So short guys get completely discriminated against. And by the way, I believe, and you can disagree with me, it comes from low self-esteem, because we don't want to be a woman walking to a restaurant with a guy who's 2 inches shorter than us. And by the way, you probably can't tell the difference in bed anyway. And by the way, if that guy is manning up at 3 a.m. to change the diapers and bring a bottle to your kid and bring you a cup of coffee and give you attention, affection, appreciation, awareness, that's the guy you want to be married to. Who cares if he's 5'4" and you're 5'8"? It means nothing in a relationship when it comes time. When it comes to reality, it means absolutely nothing. How many people I know, nice, beautiful Jewish women, marry handsome guys, and they're now divorced? Looks only go so far. This is why we want to marry, because the body is what we see, and our soul is our purpose and destiny. We want to marry our soulmate. Not someone we meet online that's our code mate. You know, it might match online, but in reality, it's not the same thing. And you might. The problem with online dating now is, like, you know, because people use ChatGPT to write their bios, and some girl sees this guy with this beautiful bio, and she goes to a coffee shop to meet him, and she realizes it's a MacBook computer. Now it's great because he's gonna, you know, you can power him on with the push of a button, but it doesn't last very long, right? That doesn't make a great relationship. So you have to be the real person. It's funny, I get this all the time. I get emails every single day from people, because I have a bunch of books on Amazon, and they're trying to they want to market my books. I can help you with their books or their book clubs, and their emails are not written by themselves. You can tell they're all ChatGPT emails. No one's writing an email, hey, Coach Ratner, my name is Sarah, I live in Houston, I'd love to help you. Like, no one can write that email. It's like all this, they put my book through the thing, all these, it's like 4 paragraphs of like talking about the nuances in my book. You did not read my book, no offense. Every single day this happens. These aren't real people. I mean, there may be real people, but I'm not going to connect to them. I want someone who's real in life. So we just did, do you find that people will sometimes stop listening to you when you're talking with them? If that's the case, maybe you're a vampire. Okay. Doesn't mean you can improve. Next question. Are you upset when you're not the center of attention? This is a big thing. We have a friend who we found out, well, it's not a friend anymore, we figured out is a narcissist. And we kind of assumed this, and we found out later on when she was at a Shabbat dinner that, like, she had to be the center of attention. Because this is what she needs. This is what fuels her, is being the center of attention. And if you don't feel like you're the center of attention, it's possible that you're a narcissist. Do you have a hard time saying, I'm sorry, or I forgive you? This is an issue. This is an issue in relationships that people have a hard time, like I say, being empathetic. The whole purpose for this book, Emotional Vampires, that we're discussing now, and Are You an Emotional Vampire, is we want to find the keepers in our life. Keepers in our life, that people that we need, they're healthy for us to have as friends and as romantic partners. And this is an acronym. We're going to use this word, keeper. The first thing we're going to do, these are people who are in our life. The first thing we're going to do, we're going to get rid of two of the words. We're going to get rid of ego. We don't want ego in our life. Ego means that I control everything and God has nothing to do with it. You know, they say, who's the humblest person in the world? What does the Torah tell us?
Moshe Rabbeinu.
Moshe Rabbeinu. Do you think Moshe went into Pharaoh's office and said, Pharaoh, will you let our people go? No! He walked in, Pharaoh, let our people go. And being humble isn't thinking less of yourself, it's thinking less about yourself. It realizes that everything you have in your life is a gift from God. And if you're not raised in a spiritually influenced home like I was not, you have an ego. And in a relationship, let me tell you something. This is the truth. Your ego is not your amigo. Thanks for the smile back there. And actually, the word ego actually stands for something else. Exiting God out. Even in my 20s, when I was very successful, thank God, in the coin business, I'm like, it's all me, I'm pretty good in coins, I make deals, look at me, I'm the big man on campus, BMC? BMOG, was it what, BMOG, big man on campus? No, BMOG. And I finally realized, God just gave me gifts. God gave us each a check at birth, and our job in life is to cash that check. He gave you one for $10,000, he gave you one for $5,000. But you never go to a bank with a $5,000 check and say, just give me $4,000 and keep the change. That's exactly what you're doing when you don't reach your potential in life. And having the awareness of when you're draining people of energy and having the awareness of who's draining you of energy in your life will make you a much happier person. Because you have to protect your happiness. No one else can do it. No offense. Your parents are going to be there your whole life protecting you. You have to protect yourself. And knowing who to have in your life and not have in your life is a very important factor. And this will help you also in dating too. When I wrote the book, I wasn't thinking about dating. I was thinking more about interpersonal relationships with our family and our friends. But really it comes in a partner. So you want a partner, you don't want someone with an ego. We talked about yesterday the second commandment of the 10 Commandments is to not worship idols. But if you marry a guy who thinks they're God or wants to be a God, or wants to have a body like a God, right? You're marrying an idol worshiper. That's what you're doing. You don't want to marry someone like that. So you want to get marry someone who doesn't have an ego. Get rid of that. Psh. Psh. Then you want to get rid of envy. You can substitute jealousy. There's like yesterday we talked about the 10th commandment of the 10 Commandments is do not covet. 10 fingers. I want that, I want that. I want that car, that house, that wife, that job. And you're not happy with what you have in life. And if you marry someone, if you date someone with envy, if they're already, I was coaching a guy, and he came through Aish, and he was living in North Miami Beach. And he calls me and he's dating this girl who's modern Orthodox, and he says, she's very nice and he likes her, but he's complaining to me because she likes to have the newest cars. Like she every 3 years gets a new lease. Is that still a thing in America? Is that still a thing? I mean, things change. I haven't been there in 6 years. And then she always has to have the newest designer purse. Now, I don't know if you know, but purses can get expensive. You probably don't have no idea, but if you buy Hermes or Louis Vuitton purses, they get to be tens of thousands of dollars for a purse. It's the stupidest thing. It's the craziest thing in the world. There's Hermes purses. Hermes? Hermes? It's actually pronounced Hermes? Hermes? Hermes. That sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars. I have a buddy who actually deals in Hermes purses. And I asked him, why do people pay so much for this stuff? He goes, well, they're rare, they're with crocodile skin, they have, they're made hand sticks and everything. I go, why do people really buy them? And he explained to me one thing. He goes, it's just because of ego. He goes, he buys lots of purses back from people, from divorced women who got them when they were married because the husband's trying to, in fact, I talk about this in my upcoming book, that the 5 love languages, one of the love languages is giving of gifts. Do you guys know that? Giving of gifts? I do not believe that's a love language. I finally this is what I do. I say stuff that people think but don't come out and say it. And I started thinking about this. Why does someone have to have gifts? You know why? It's compensating for a lack of emotional connection. When you're buying your wife gifts all the time, it's because there's probably a lack of emotional connection. You're not putting the effort into the emotions, and therefore you're substituting for gifts. You can disagree with me. That's my opinion. What do you think back there?
I disagree. I think that some people feel love when people buy them gifts.
Well, they should feel love without gifts. That's the thing. It's compensating.
There is,
So why is acts of services yes to feel unloved?
there is gifts. Some people do, is gifts is the act of love. Is their
Yeah, do you think it is?
language. Some people gifts, yeah, they feel very loved. So then it's okay, but depends why. These people obviously weren't being loved. So.
It's one of the 5 love languages, it's not.
I understand, and I can disagree with him. What?
From your end, you can receive it as love.
You can receive it as love.
The point is the person who's giving it has to give it not from a place of, like, they don't really have that connection and they're trying to compensate for something.
Let's be honest here. There is a lack, there is what I call emotional constipation in this relationship. I'm being honest. It's because one person cannot open up emotions to the other, and so one of them feels like they're not being loved, so what they do is they compensate by buying gifts. That's my opinion. You don't agree with me.
Is there a place for gifts, any like a birthday gift or anything?
Yes, on holidays.
If it comes
Yeah,
from-
Rosh Hashanah, Sukkot, Pesach, you buy your wife a gift.
If it's a real love language and that's what your spouse likes, then that's the way you love them. But you're doing it out of love, not out of, oh, let's just be better, she's annoying, he's annoying, buy them gifts. shut up.
Well, I think both issues are correct. I think both issues, I think the reason people do it is because there is a lack of emotional connection. And that's my, you don't agree with me. Like I said, I'm not here to be liked. You can disagree with me. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, is there a difference between acts of services and gifts? What, like, both of them are physical actions and both of them are, in my opinion, a love language. Why would you differentiate it?
Well, let's acts of service, right? That's something you're doing, and cleaning the kitchen up. For example, we're going to talk about this next week in my class. Make yourself irresistibly marriageable. That a woman, like you're dating, and you see a guy, and he's doing things that he's not being asked to do, like picking up the chicken soup and things like this, right? That you do on Friday night. Young man, 20% hotter off the bat, right? Picks up the chicken soup at my Shabbos table without being asked. Women look at them as 20% hotter because they're taking responsibility for something. But going out and buying a gift, listen, it's different if you're buying something that you need or something like, I don't feel, now this is my opinion, I don't feel the need to buy my wife gifts. I just don't feel that need. If she wants gifts, you know what she says? Oh, you bought me a gift today. She'll buy it herself. I don't feel that need. I have a great relationship with my wife. Do you know what I'm saying? My opinion, I think it's a lack of emotional connection. And because
It might just not be a love language. It doesn't just.
that's why I don't think it's a love language.
It is one of the 5.
I know it's one of the 5. It's not halacha, though. It's some guy's opinion, and I can disagree with him. You know, unless Rashi said it is, okay, I'll believe it, right? But it's not from Rashi or the Rambam or Hillel, right? Or Shmuel Hanavi. It's not for any of the sages that this is a love language.
Okay.
But there is halacha that we have to buy our wife gifts 3 times a year. I don't know, for all the holidays. So we do buy gifts. It's a halacha. We have to buy our wife's gifts.
Somebody who was never taught love from an emotional perspective is going to look at love.
As gifts.
Gifts, yeah.
That's my point. Thank you. Thank you. I have someone agree with me.
Well, they're just like an emotionally
Detached.
Yeah,
Detached. What I call it in this book. I call it emotional constipation. These are guys who, and I hate to say this for guys because guys are diagnosed with Asperger's 4 times the amount of girls. And by the way, when you meet a girl who has Asperger's, it's just not as weird as a guy. I don't know why. It just comes across differently. At least for me, right? And women, and we have it. And you date a guy, and unfortunately, I think it's a big thing in the Jewish world. I don't know why. Maybe because I'm in the Jewish world, but like, it just appears that when I used to go to these singles events, there'd be a whole group of guys who are just all awkward. Like, you know, and these guys are still in their 50s and 60s and not married. And they wonder why they're not married because they don't know how to be married. And that's why I give the class next, I think Sunday I'm giving it. From swipe right to wedding night. How to make yourself irresistibly marriageable. And no one's teaching it. And I know guys who have Asperger's and have been trained by therapists on what to say in certain situations. And they come across, okay, they're not my favorite people in the world, but they're not weirdos at least. You can train yourself to not be a weirdo.
takes a lot of awareness.
It takes a lot of awareness. And people just don't have it. I know someone in my life who has no idea they have Asperger's. And they're in their 60s, divorced. I know they have Asperger's. And they told me, oh, I finally got diagnosed, I have ADD. No, you have Asperger's. It's like so blazing, like how do you not have Asperger's? And I actually in the book I talk about ways you can tell someone has Asperger's. They don't understand nuances of jokes, right? They start the conversation with their top 10 Dungeons and Dragons games. Like, you know, come on. That's what I teach next week. The first thing you do when you meet someone, hi, I'm Daniel, what's your name? Where are you from? Because it creates a connection. You can start a conversation off that way. And you have a lot of guys who are terrified in social situations. They're terrified to talk to women because maybe a little bit awkward. They've been turned down a lot because they're awkward. And so now they're terrified and they end up not being married. Or they are married. You date a guy who's got Asperger's or is socially awkward and you marry him. He's a cute guy, nice, whatever. And they can be very smart people, make good money. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg. A lot of I know a few billionaires who have Asperger's. Great, you marry them. Great, you know what happens? Elon Musk. You marry them, and when you're married, you want to be able to share your emotions. You want to be able to share your feelings. You want to be able to cry with you and be happy with you. You want to come home and have something to share and feel open. This is why the passion in the bedroom starts from the living room. When someone's there to share with you and connect with you. But when you have a guy who has a hard time connecting, that passion is not going to be there. You may be married for your whole life, but guess what? It's not a killer marriage. And I want to make killer marriages. Not just good marriages, not great marriages, but awesome marriages. Go ahead, I don't need it. Okay. Here's a good question. Do you rationalize when what you consider a close friend suddenly ignores you?
Isn't that a natural thing?
What?
Isn't that a natural thing?
A natural for a close friend to suddenly ignore you?
No.
I don't get your question.
I thought you meant like over text like this.
No, I'm talking about someone who you're close to as a friend, and suddenly they're not friends with you anymore. They're trying to just keep you out of it. That's a clue you might be an emotional vampire. We talked about having a hard time saying, I am sorry, I was wrong, or I forgive you. I got off topic. We were going to finish this. Sorry about that. So we're talking about finding keepers in your life. So we first got rid of envy, and ego, we got rid of envy. And by the way, envy is basically saying, God, you made a mistake. It's like idol worship. Why is that? Because you're saying, God, I don't have the car, the house, that body, the job. You made a mistake. We don't want to have that. We don't have idol worship. We don't want to have that in our life. So when you get rid of those two, you're left with 4 characteristics that you want in your life. The first person you want in your life is kind. This can substitute for a lot of bad things. Next, you want someone, I did the wrong E, who's peaceful. Someone who's always looking, for peace. Doesn't mean machlokas. The word machlokas means lechalek, which means to divide. You don't want someone dividing your life. You want someone who's there, and I talk about this all the time. The most important thing you have in your life is shalom bayit, which peace is in the house. In fact, it's so important you're actually allowed to lie for it. You shouldn't spend your time lying to your wife, right? But if something happened that does not, like I said, sometimes you have to filter what you say to your spouse. Peaceful, and you want respectful. Because when you're in a relationship and respect goes unchecked, your marriage is going to be a wreck. And you may be suspect, and in retrospect, it was cause and effect. That worked on that one. Then you're left with empathetic. And this is the most important thing. Empaths. Who are empaths? These are people who love to give. These are people who love to give their time, their energy. My wife and I are both empaths. But the problem with being an empath, you know what the problem with being an empath is?
You get taken advantage of?
You get taken advantage of. And who takes advantage of empaths the most? Narcissists. Because what they do is they smell shark bait. And they're the shark. They put their claws into you, they love bomb you. Next thing you're not in a relationship, you're in a manipulationship. And this is a very common theme today. I think because of social media, I think narcissism has become very, very more pronounced, I guess is the word, in my opinion.
Social media has made more narcissism, or it's more aware?
I don't know if it's both. It could be. I think it's both.
The generation before us had no social media.
No.
Narcissists from
I think there were narcissists back then, but I just don't think as many. I think we've become very, very self-centered in our. When your best friend is your phone, I think you just become less aware of other people's needs, and other people's feelings, and you just want to be the center of attention.
So it trains you, or just?
I don't know if it trains you. I haven't thought about
it's kind
this.
of like alcohol. Like it's just this person was.
It could train you. It could train you. And that's what I said.
It disconnects us.
It does disconnect us. It's one of the unhealthiest things. That's why I talk about if you want to increase your self-esteem.
Narcissism is consideration, I believe. So considering always means thinking about the other, thinking about it's a constant.
Oh, I talk about this in my class. I go and I talk about in my
On
self-esteem.
the phone that doesn't need consideration. ChatGPT is always nice to us. Social media likes up. It's so easy to find.
I think it's a huge issue that when you post on social media, that you need to think of that you have to think about what other people. You don't have to. Again, when I teach this class to high schoolers, they completely disagree with me. They'll say, "Why should I care what I post on media?" You don't have to. You can post what you want. Post the fact you're having a baby boy. Post the fact that you went to France and spent $10,000 in the restaurant. And post these things. but you're having an effect on how other people feel, whether you believe it or not. And when you start to become aware of other people's feelings, this is the key. When you become aware of how other people feel, you'll be so much more aware of your own feelings. And do things to protect yourself. Like I said, you have to put a fence around your happiness, just like we put a fence around the Torah to protect it from us breaking the mitzvahs. I mean, why can't I eat a chicken and cheesesteak sandwich? Why can't I? Because the reason the Torah gives us for not eating, meat and milk is that you can't cook a kid in its mother's milk. And last time I checked, chickens don't have nipples. Do chickens have nipples? I don't think so. You don't see chickens breastfeeding their chicks, huh?
Good point.
Right? So why can't I have a chicken and cheesesteak sandwich? It's a fence. It's not a hoax. It's a fence. Kashrut is a hoax, for sure. We don't understand kashrut, but it's a fence to protect us from breaking kashrut. Because when you cook chicken thighs on the grill, if you've ever had, I cook on the grill, it's like meat. It's meaty. It's yummy. It's delicious. There was a guy who was here, and he was not observant yet, but he was trying to start keeping kosher. So he went to like Prague or something. He ordered a bureka. It was a cheese bureka, not kosher, but he was like, I want to try to keep kosher. It ended up being chicken. Having chicken. He goes, Coach, I had a chicken. I'm like, it's not from the Torah. It's a rabbinic law. At least it wasn't meat and cheese, right? It was chicken and cheese, which is a lesson of error, less of a sin. All right, more questions. Do you dominate conversations or interrupt others frequently? Maybe people who do this probably don't realize they're doing it. I actually used to interrupt people all the time, and I learned not to do it. Do you often redirect conversations back to yourself? Just someone who's needy or someone who maybe
Self-centered. Self-centered.
Self-centered, narcissism, whatever you want to call it. Do you need constant reassurance, compliments, or validation? Are you always needing compliments? We all like having compliments. This is the truth. But I talk about in my low self-esteem class that when you're fishing for compliments, it's because of low self-esteem. It's like if I ask you, how was my class today? What am I going to do? No, coach, it really sucked. No, I wanted to usually give you a positive answer. I wouldn't ask. That's why I don't ask. Right? And the thing with empathetic people, they can say, I love you. Some people can say it, but they don't actually follow it up with the action of loving you. It's a big issue. This is what narcissists do. I love you, I love you. Well, no, you love me because you can abuse me. You can gaslight me, right? You can manipulate me. That's why you love me. You love the feeling you get from me, not me and myself. It's how I make you feel. And then empathetic people can say, I'm sorry, which is a very big heart for narcissists. They cannot admit they're wrong. And I did a class a number of weeks ago called 9 Ways to Say I'm Sorry, because there are different ways to say I'm sorry. When you say I'm sorry with a but, that's not a real sorry, right? And there's sorry, I'm not going to get into this, but there's 9 different ways to say I'm sorry. And then you can say, I'm sorry, and you can say, I forgive you. And this is one of the hardest things for us to do, is to let things go and let it flow. Because we want to forgive all the people in our lives that have harmed us. Because if you don't do it, you're going to be carrying this burden of pain for the rest of your life. And this is a common theme today. People came from dysfunctional families in their 30s, they're still not married, their 20s or 30s, having a hard time getting married, or they have low self-esteem. They feel like, if I meet a guy that loves me, then I'll be happy. Not only are you still unhappy, he's unhappy, and the relationship falls apart. People with low self-esteem can get married. It's just a much harder marriage. So when you're looking for validation all the time, it comes from low self-esteem. If one person calls you a donkey, don't believe them. If a second person calls you a donkey, don't believe them. If a third person calls you a donkey, buy a saddle, right? So am I an emotional vampire? You can improve yourselves. We all have that ability. We do. We all have that ability. We discussed this yesterday. Are you an animal or a human? Obviously, you're not an animal. Animals live on instincts, and you have instincts also, but you can control them. When you go to lunch today, you can use a knife and a fork. Right?
Yeah.
You're not going to use your hands. What happens when someone is a narcissist? This is what's going to happen. So we did you guys got keepers? I thought that's pretty good.
Good.
Yeah, it's nice. You can remember in your head. Get rid of evil, envy. I want kind, I want peaceful, I want empathetic, and I want respectful. If you can find someone like that in your life, you're pretty good. Not just, and by the way, I'm not talking about, but The friends that you have now, because most of you are pretty young, came from a circumstance or event. Your friends came from the fact you were in school with them, you yeshiva with them, you grew up with them, your parents are friends, or whatever it is, right? You went to school with them, or you're in class together. That's your friends. But generally, you don't really pick your friends. They say you can pick your friends, and you can pick your nose, but you can't pick your friend's nose. Or you can if you want to, obviously. That'd be really weird, obviously. But the point is, you have to do what's called a friend audit as you get older and say, do I need to have this person in my life? Because just because you were friends at 18 years old and you relive those days of you drinking together and having fun together, and now you're 40 years old, maybe they're draining you of energy and you don't realize that because the price of admission is worth it for you. Is the price of admission worth it to stay friends with this person? And as you get older, you'll find, there's not that many old people in this class. I love when I have old people in the class because they totally know what I'm talking about. You guys have no idea. Especially when I talk about laws of family purity, like, oh my gosh, sexual ambiguity, such a big issue in relationships. So the thing is, I love when they're bobbleheads like this. The guy yesterday, a guy in the class who probably was 60 years old, he was like a bobblehead the whole time. I love it. Yes?
I just want to ask, what about like productive? Isn't a key factor in somebody looking to spend the rest of their life with that they're a contributing member of society and that they make use of themselves?
Two things that you said are correct. So one is, again, we're going to in this class next week, that when you're dating, especially this is more for men than women, that when a girl wants to know where you're going in life, right? Am I going to be a productive member of society? Which means you don't have to know at 21 years old, okay, I'm going to be a brain surgeon. You know, but I am planning to finish yeshiva. I'm going to YU. I'm going to study to become a doctor. I'm hoping to work in a like, you have to know where you're going. You don't have to go on that path, but you have to have an idea of what you want in life. It's when you have no idea what you're doing in life, you know, it's not so attractive for a woman. They want to know that they can be supported and also know that they have a guy who is. And the second thing I'm telling you, what you just said, is someone who takes responsibility when they're not being asked. And this is the whole thing I talk about in my classes. That when you, especially a guy, it's more for men than women, that when a woman goes to the guy, you can tell me if I'm wrong, because I'm not a woman. You guys are women people, so tell me if I'm wrong. But you'll tell me the wrong and back, all right? You'll agree with me. My point is, you go with a guy who's taking responsibility for something he's not being asked to do, it's like he makes him 20% hotter, you know?
89% hotter.
How much?
89% hotter.
89% hotter.
That is the way to.
Yeah, I have a friend who doesn't have a resume, and I have a girl for him. And I said, you need a resume. He goes, can you help me? I'm like, yeah, I'll help you. And I started thinking about what he does. He helps manage a kollel. He also has his own business. I'm like, it's gonna be very easy to do this resume for this guy because he does a lot of stuff that's not required of him. You know, running a non-profit organization, or not running it, but like being part of it and fundraising for it, shows he's taking responsibility for the world, and women are going to find that attractive. And I use this example in my house, which some of you have heard already, David, right? You come to my house, and I serve chicken soup at my Shabbos table, and you know, my wife and I are talking to our guests, and we have men and women at the table, and occasionally, a guy will stand up without being asked and pick up the bowls of chicken soup and bring them to the empty bowls of chicken soup and bring them to the kitchen. And women look at that guy as 20% hotter. Do you know why? Because he took responsibility. Am I wrong? Someone tell me. Am I making sense?
100% right. It
Right?
creates
Back row there?
It creates respect and admiration.
I was gonna say, it's not just hotter, it's respect.
Well, it's respect, but it's also,
Yeah, but
I'm saying he's more attractive.
Of course.
He's more attractive in your eyes. Because you're taking responsibility for something he's not being asked to do. There's a whole thing I talk about in dating, and I want to make it funny because I went to a coffee shop recently. I was looking at the table for the sugar. So I say on the first date, you're on the first date with a guy, right? And you sit down in a coffee shop, and they bring you 2 coffees, and there's packets of sugar on it. You know those packets of sugar on the thing? And there's like 3 packets of sugar. Right? And she takes 2 packets of sugar, puts in her coffee. A guy with awareness is going to stand up, walk to a different table, grab 6 or 7 packets of sugar, and bring it back to his table without saying a word. And a woman that has awareness is going to say, wow, that is awesome. He was aware of my needs, even though I don't need the sugar, or I do want the sugar. He doesn't know. But he's thinking in his head, maybe she actually wants 4 sugars, but she's embarrassed to take all 3 of them, so she's only using 2. Do you get that? You're thinking be out of the box from people. And this is what makes relationships passionate. When you have the awareness of someone else's needs, that is the most important thing. When a man is waking up at 3 a.m. to change a diaper, when a man is reading stories to his kids at night with voices, What do you think of that? Amazing, right? What'd you say?
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. It's not hard, guys. It's not hard. I'm giving you the tools. I'm giving you the tools. And just because you're young, but even like some women who are young might not realize this. It's only when they become like in their 30s and 40s, like, I wish I dated the 5'6" guy with 20 pounds overweight, because I'd rather have him in my house than that gorgeous 6'2" guy that doesn't listen to me or pay attention to me. You get my point? Yes.
So how important is it for a woman to have the qualities of being proactive, being involved in the world?
I think, from my opinion, please tell me if I'm wrong. I thought about this. I just don't think it's as attractive to a man when a woman does things that are outside. I just don't think it's something that, it's just like the tricks I give you in my dating marriage class, that if a woman walks into the house and the husband's on the phone, hey, Joe, I gotta go, my wife just walked in. Hey, honey. It just doesn't work the same. Right? Or if a woman comes in and says, hi, honey. Oh, how do you feel today? What'd you do? It just doesn't work the same. We don't like, what are you doing? It's weird. Right? The clues the tips I give in my dating marriage class, it just doesn't work the different, we have different needs and desires. So I for some reason, I don't think, I mean, it's nice if, you're dating a girl and she's like, runs a nonprofit or, feeds the animals, it's like there's, I walk my dog at like 4:30 a.m. sometimes, and there's women that go around my neighborhood feeding the cats.
At 4:30 a.m.?
Oh, yeah, 4:30 a.m.
They obviously can't sleep.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, something's wrong.
Yeah, and you see the cats running? It's so funny.
For a woman to all the time be doing big things is a bit.
Well, it is attractive. It is, I do have respect.
What I've understood recently is, what I've learned actually is that for a woman, it's for both really. It's when we see good midness in the other person, that's like
Yes.
So that is more.
But when they're feeding like thousands of cats, it's just a little bit weird. Like, it's like this person's gonna be like 80 years old and have 1,000 cats in their house, right? And they never clean the house and it's gonna be full of cat litter. It's like just like, the whole leading the cat thing. So sometimes when we talked about, are you a vampire? Sometimes if you call someone out on being a vampire, they're gonna give you 3 responses. They're gonna blame somebody else, right? Oh, it's not my fault, I'm this way because of my parents. It's not my fault because I got fired. It's not this fault, blame somebody else. They're going to argue with you, or they're going to be in complete denial. And the denial is not a river in Egypt.
That's bad.
Right? And these 3 things are bad. The most important thing you can do is to take responsibility for your actions and take responsibility for your personalities. And it's not easy sometimes. As Andy Dufresne said in Shawshank Redemption, get busy living or get busy dying. If you don't gain clarity about your own weaknesses and take steps to grow, relationship struggles will follow you throughout your life. And that means doing the inner work you have to do to become people who are not emotional vampires. We all have them in our life. Every one of us, if you were raise your hand, not everyone did, but I'm sure everyone has someone in their life who's an emotional vampire. But if I ask in this room who's an emotional vampire, no one's going to raise their hand. Something doesn't make sense. We all have times that we're emotional vampires. The key is to recognize it, understand it, and do things to improve ourselves so we can be an amazing, amazing partner, friend, parent, son, daughter, whatever it's going to be in your life. And you have to put a fence around your happiness because no one else can do it. My blessing to you, take what I've taught you today. Become self-aware of your issues, become self-aware of any problems you have in life. You can ask yourself these questions. It's in my book, Emotional Vampires. It's for sale out there. And thank you very much.
Thank you.